All right, it is Tuesday, November 30th. We just finished giving thanks. Now we're starting right into the holiday season full bore. I don't have a lot more else in my intro other than say, here's Riggo after last night's
Whoop-de-doo.
yeah,
Whoop-de-doo.
whoop-de-doo, wop-de-doo.
We will get to the whoop-de-doo in just a second. A couple things pressing. First of all, well, I guess it was a typical morning. I got up at my usual time, maybe even 15 minutes later, but it seemed like because of the holiday weekend, it seems like I got up extra early. And actually, I kind of got a little taste, Todd, of what it's like to be a working man. I was in a little
Are
bit
you
of,
okay?
Well, I was in a little bit of rush hour traffic. I'm going, so this is how the other half lives.
Ooh.
It wasn't a lot of fun. Actually, the traffic was all backed up on the outer loop of the back beltway for a second, getting across American Legion Bridge, and then all of a sudden it opened up, and it was wide open, actually. But I thought, oh, man, this is what I've been missing out on all these years? Yes, I did something right.
Well, it's kind of like we knew the pandemic was easing up because traffic was getting to be bad again.
Well, yeah.
We never missed traffic so much.
Yeah, well, let's face it, that's the reason people live in the country nowadays. That's the reason people are bailing out of the city. A, the pandemic, and the other one is they finally go, why am I spending my whole life in a car? You know, if you've got to be in the car for an hour in the morning, hour in the evening, get home,
yeah,
I don't know. It's a different mindset. A lot of people are geared to that. They don't have a problem with it. Big guy, not so much. Anyway, today is November 30th. Tomorrow is December 1st. Now, December 1st, what's that mean? Well, it means that the deer season, rifle season, opens in Kansas.
Oh,
tomorrow.
my.
Yeah. And, this is the first year, and I don't know how many years, I won't be there for the opening of the deer season. I've been going out there now, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9 years in a row.
Is there like an opening ceremony, like a ceremonial shot, or do they bring the color guard out?
There used to be.
Do the deers, do they all like got their hands over their heart?
They may have.
Listening to the anthem and then they scramble?
Well, when they know I'm in the woods, they get around and they break out the coolers and they start drinking.
I wonder if he's going to take a shot this year.
That numbskull's going to be here tomorrow morning. I can hardly wait. Yeah, but there used to be I used to have a ritual too with my brothers and a fellow by the name of Big D. You may have heard. I mean, we got real drunk the night before. Real drunk. I mean, so drunk they didn't really want to hunt the next day. In fact, I can never remember. Never forget this. The opening season, not opening season. Yeah, it was opening season. The year I didn't play, 1980.
The holdout.
The whole that year. We all went up to my place where I deer hunt, and we camped out that night. And I mean, we got real.
The ripping and the tearing was.
Oh, I believe there was some schnapps involved, a lot of beer drinking. So much so, my buddy, Big D, he gets up on top of the pond dam, and we had this big fire going down below, and he comes running down, and he just, I don't know if he tripped and fell. I don't know if he dove in. He was in the fire. Literally had to pull him out of the fire. He had a spot on the side of his, like this, just, I don't know, at least a 2nd-degree burn. I don't know if it was like I'm over there going, hey, Bill, you smell something? I thought we just ate dinner. So,
what was his reaction?
So, anyway, that's one of those deals. That's back when I was a kid, foolish, didn't know better. Let me get this straight right away. I don't drink when I hunt. Maybe the night before. No, I don't even do that anymore. I used to, but not when you hunt. No, there's no drinking. I mean, that would be a bad precedent to set for anybody. And it is definitely taboo. You don't mix. I was thinking on the way over here, alcohol and gunpowder don't mix.
No.
If they did it, I mean, the reason they don't mix is because basically you're on the verge of a neutron bomb when those two get together.
Bad things will generally happen.
Bad things happen. Well, anyway, like I was saying, Todd, I've always been out there for, well, I don't say always, but I've been out there for opening day for, like I said, the last close to 10 years maybe. I don't know, give or take, maybe missed one here and there. But I am planning on getting out there toward the end, towards the end of the week or whenever I can get away. But I always talk about getting Chongo, right? I'm always talking about Chongo. Well, right here on the screen you're looking at, that's what Chongo looks like. And I had to show that to Coco because she's always saying, Daddy, Chongo, what are you talking about? So finally, my brother Bill told me that there was somebody that killed a big deer out there. And so I said, well, and he was going to meet with a friend of his that actually probably had the pictures of it. And he did, and he sent me this picture. So that's what Chongo looks like. Now, there's something here that even goes beyond Chongo, which I was completely unaware of. Well, I guess I was. But Chongo's kind of normal, is a normal monster, you might say, right? It's a normal monster.
You can relate to it.
Then there's the next step up from Chongo, which I saw 20-some years ago out of. And then this deer here was killed in Nemaha County, which is a county I hunt in. but it was probably about, I don't know, 14, 15 miles away because it was up by Seneca. I'm all the way down the southwest corner of the county. But this next picture I want to show you is, and if we can go to it right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, that first picture was a picture of Chongo, right? And I think that's a typical whitetail buck, called typical. This is Godzilla. I didn't really even know, although I should have, because I was out there in 1997, the first time I ever went deer hunting on my property. I was about 2 miles away, and I saw about 7 or 8 does going up the side of a pasture on a hill, and behind them was this huge, and I was looking about 600 or 700 yards away. It looked like an elk was following a bunch of deer. And I got to believe that this is the DNA from that buck that I saw 20 years ago. It was the same deal. This rack was so wide. And this deer right here was killed probably about 2.5 miles from my property.
Whoa.
So you got Chongo and you got Godzilla. Now, I don't even know. I might just come out of the woods with my hands up if I see Godzilla.
Yeah, they're surrounding you like, we've been looking for you, punk.
Oh, cool. Godzilla, please be gentle. I haven't hurt anybody here. Seriously, I haven't really. I mean,
You missed opening day ceremonies.
So anyway, that's what I'm planning on doing. So I'll have a report from the woods probably next week
Oh,
sometime.
outstanding, outstanding.
We'll do a show, and I'll be in the woods. We'll figure out how we're going to do that. Okay, now it's time to get to the whoop-de-doo.
You mean the whoop-de and the do?
And the do. First of all, let's start with this whole playoff nonsense. And I say nonsense. You talk about the old contradiction here. I don't get it on the, where it's like, those old sayings where, it's like, look before you leap. In other words, there's these contradicting euphemisms. Look before you leap. He who hesitates is lost. It's like, So here you got these guys all last night talking about there's a lot of football left to play, a lot of football left to play. But this puts Washington in playoff position. It's like, there's a lot of football left to play. There's no way of knowing. They played another very good football game. But the thing you have to remember here is they played a very poor football team. And so it's hard to...
Seattle's bad. It's shocking how bad they are.
And the offense, I mean, I'll tell you what's the positive. And Heineke played okay. I didn't think he played great. I mean, it's almost like you're watching a kid grow, kind of, but you're not really sure how much room there is, how much taller he's really going to get. He's growing incrementally. You don't see the leaps and bounds. But maybe that's the way it works.
He's still got the training wheels on.
A little bit.
We want to take him off. He's doing pretty good, but then he gets a little shaky. But he's not losing the game for them now. He's making some plays. And what's fascinating is he's buying into this gunslinger thing. He's not even making a regular pass anymore. I mean, he wants to throw sidearm, underhanded. He wants Mahomes too, and he's going for it. And I give him credit for that. He's 28. He's got to do his thing. But let's face it, John, the adjustments they have made since the bye week, they're running the football.
You just took the words out of my mouth. That was the difference in the game last night. Two sides of it. They stopped the run, and I mean they stopped the run.
The last 3 wins.
30 yards. I don't know. I didn't add it up, but I think both backs didn't bust 20 yards that they gave of the football. I'm talking about Seattle. And then Gibson, he was 29 carries, I think I saw, like 111 yards, something like that. That was the difference in the game. Complete difference in the game. If it would have been flip-flop, then you would have had the score would have reflected that. But the other thing is, though, what's kind of interesting is that they dominated Seattle. There's no question about that, which is what a team, a good team does. But then again, you get down in a position to put points on the board, and they're not doing that. 17 points. That ain't going to win you many football games, and particularly when you're playing teams that are on the upper echelon that have decent offenses. I don't know, Seattle's been struggling, but enough of the kind of like naysayer talk. You got to give this team credit. They were in a dive. They've won 3 games in a row, and the whole thing's out there for them now. They put themselves back in a position to where they could do something. Whether they will or not remains to be seen, and that really will be, how the season hangs in the balance. But they have accomplished the first goal, or I should say the first step of this thing, is they've righted themselves. They've arrested the fall, and I think from here on in now, they got to keep playing the way they're playing. I tell you, one of the biggest where I can appreciate the effort, but at the same time, you kind of got to go. Really? I mean, it was the kicker,
Mr. Sly.
Mr. Sly. When you saw the playoff? Here you see this guy with a little pinched ass going, trying to just little, and he's trying to catch this burly defensive end. He's got no shot. That defensive end is faster than him. Period. The guy had like a 5-yard head start on him.
The defensive end dusted him, and it's like defensive. His one was 5 of Mr. Sly,
and then all of a sudden, and then boom, down he goes. It's like, hey, fella, you just got a job in the NFL.
It looked like it was the old Animal Kingdom where they're chasing and they got to get a tranquilizer dart in, and they're chasing, and then Sly goes down.
It was like, I think I texted you that. It was like Frank the Tank in Old School. I think it was that movie. It was with Farrell when the guy he plays around with that dart gun and he goes, "Man, you just took one in the jugular. That knocked down a rhino."
Oh,
you're funny, man.
And then he tried to kick off. And it was. Then you're like, now you're just grabbing your legs.
That's where you go. You got to appreciate the position he was in. He's going, man, I just got this job. I really need this job. And so he goes out and tries to kick off. It makes it worse, probably. So he's done. You won't see him again this year.
Oh, my gosh.
Probably his career's over with. That was his career.
You go.
I shouldn't be laughing. Poor guy.
Dusty Hopkins.
He's probably sitting at the bar with Dusty right now. Dusty, you go ahead.
You got Dusty, you got Blewett. Maybe
there's 3 of them.
Blewett staying loose.
Yeah, well,
I
don't think they'll be bringing him back.
Well, it's super important now because clearly this team has a problem punching in the end zone. So the defense is playing stout. They're doing their job, and the offense is putting together these long drives. But clearly, it's fascinating to go back to where they were prior to the bye and Chase Young and Montez Sweat not being on the field. And you are hearing the announcers and more rumblings and, all the guys going, well, we're playing more as a team now versus some of the individual defenses we were playing before. That's a thinly veiled.
I wonder. I was wondering if
flat out is being thrown out there because they are playing collectively as a unit far better. They're playing as a unit.
And it's funny you should say that. I didn't really. I remember him saying that last night. That I think it was Jonathan Allen.
It was Jonathan Allen
that said that now we're playing more as a team. Now I don't know if that was, like you said, read between the lines. I didn't really take it that way. But on my own, I thought to myself, gee, isn't this kind of amazing?
Del Rio said the same thing.
Huh?
He said Del Rio is the one. Yeah, we had too many individuals out there playing. It's been taken.
Well, then that pretty much tells you all you need to know. Which I immediately thought at the time: is there any is the trade deadline over with? Unfortunately, the guy's nicked up, actually, both of them. But I think the guy that may have been causing the problems, well, I don't want to say he was causing problems, but somehow getting people to not focus or whatever, because this is exactly the formula that they were looking for when the season started, and they had Fitzpatrick as a quarterback, to play this kind of defense and have an offense that would just hang in there, and maybe you get lucky and make something happen with a quarterback.
It was your team with George Allen.
It's actually that funny you bring his name up because I'm thinking, he probably had a smile on his face last night because of the fact that the way they won, 17-15. Special teams was involved.
Blood and guts.
Special teams was involved, well, in a bad way on the one hand. But, yeah, to me, this is the formula they had when the season started. And basically they're getting the same. It's kind of, he's a much younger guy, but Heineke's kind of taken the place of Fitzmagic because he's kind of like Heineke magic. He's doing some stuff. I'll tell you what, the guy can slip a punch with the best of them.
My gosh.
I don't know how many times we've seen defensive people come in there and try to tackle him. He just ducks underneath
Fran Tarkenton. It kept reminding me of Fran Tarkenton.
You know what? He's more like Fran Tarkenton than the gunslinger, I think. He does a great job of getting around and keeping a play alive and making something happen. I do think, though, realistically, and I always look at this, I guess, it's better to, I don't know. It's like, you can say what you want, but going down to Super Bowl 18 and getting our butts kicked, that wasn't a good experience. It's almost better off because, it's the last game of the year and you end up the loser. It's almost like, I think I'd rather stayed home. You know what I'm saying? You don't know that going in, but after the fact, you go.
Well, the days have been so dark around here, John, that
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I mean, we're not. Anybody think of Super Bowl and that kind of nonsense or whatever? You do your thing. It was.
Well,
It was.
Dexter was here last
Well,
week
it was
saying
a
they're gonna run the
pathetic
table.
crowd. It was a pathetic crowd last night. It was. That's Monday Night Football. You're one and only for this team
How
this
many-
year. I don't know the officials,
But it looked like the
everybody,
upper bowl was completely empty.
and the middle bowl was too. They jammed a bunch down below to fill it in. But
So the
people
camera
I
couldn't
know that
catch
were at the
that.
game and what the Twitter reporters were saying and everything else, it was embarrassing. Okay,
Is
so
that right?
but for progress for this team,
Well, that's true.
for what they're doing, and that's why the hype of I saw two erroneous reports, and I had to go back and read them twice. I'm not going to embarrass them right here. That said, they just clinched a playoff spot, and not even remotely close, because there's a logjam of teams, even with the extra wild card position. So that was wrong. That was a flat out wrong.
There's no way they could have clinched.
No.
Because there's still teams.
Nobody's clinched.
Seattle isn't even out of it at this point.
Yeah, although Seattle's out of it, they're terrible. There's something going on with that team.
Oh, they're
there.
definitely out of it in
Russell
that regard.
Wilson.
But mathematically, they have not been eliminated.
That is correct, with the extra wild card game here going this week.
I'm not even sure the Giants have been eliminated mathematically.
No,
I mean, what is there? How many games are left? 7? I mean, five.
So they're
games?
five. They're
for some teams.
They're 5 and 6. Washington's got 6 games left. So they've got.
So if
basically, everybody's got. You've got 6 or 7 games left.
yeah, depending on
On your
you have
bye
the
week.
bye week. Exactly. So my point being is, some of these teams really caught super fire, and one out that you're looking at. But you're figuring realistically that's not going to happen. But my point is, there's so many teams that are still alive, mathematically speaking. Very few teams have been eliminated mathematically.
And that's what the league wanted. And that's with the extra wild card. They want all this so that fans, there's the
rabid.
parity that exists right here, because again, just make the playoffs, just get in the dance, and maybe we can go on that magical run. That's what they love and they want. But I'll tell you right now, Dallas is pooping their pants once again with that loss to the Raiders. So Washington's going out to Vegas this next weekend. That's their next game.
Well, I'll tell you what, they had a huge game coming up. They've had some big games, really. Well, actually, these last Tampa Bay, a game that I'll be honest, I didn't think they had a chance to win that game, and they did a great job. Their defense played extremely well. Their offense did what it took against a Tampa Bay defense that's supposed to be pretty good, right? They're the world champion. And then they come back the next week against Carolina, and Carolina is another team very equal to Washington. They're playing on the road, and they're able to take that game away and did the same thing. The defense is what's leading it. Like I said, this was the plan all along, and I can see now what they had in mind, and all of a sudden it makes a lot of sense. And then they play last night. The defense just throws a stone wall up against the Seattle. And at the same time, you're starting to get, you got to say, too, they're starting to get playmakers on offense. They have a lot of receivers.
No
They're
question.
making big catches. They've got the running backs. I don't know. McKissick, how serious is his
So
injury? Any idea?
they're reevaluating his neck, and as you said, he was walking around in the locker room afterwards. It looked like a concussion or compression the way he took that hit or went into the hit or whatever. But they think he's going to be okay, but we don't know. It's too early.
So, but certainly him, and then of course Gibson's playing as well as
Gibson
he is.
is running
and they
his
got the tight
butt
end that's
off.
come back.
Logan Thomas is back.
So the offensive line playing pretty damn good football. They're opening up holes. Gibson's finding everything. They're doing pretty good. So
Curtis Samuel played. Your star wide receiver
Right.
finally made his pitch. And let me tell you, Mr. Carter's got some wheels back. Number one, when that big catch that he had
late in the game. Over the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so. You know what? The needle's is pointing back up with this football.
There's no
team.
question.
I mean, you got to give Coach Rivera and all the coaches out there a lot of credit. They hung in there. They're finally getting done what they want. And you wonder, seriously, it comes back to this: were they being kind of distracted on defense because of some individuals that were pulling the team in a different direction, and to a point where that it really gives you a moment of pause to, well, where do we go with this? Because
Right.
I'll tell you what. This defense doesn't look the same as
No,
it did
not at
early in
all.
the season.
Isn't it amazing?
I mean, they are stout, and I was so impressed with the fact that, Seattle couldn't gain a yard on the ground. I mean, everything got shut off.
I think one of the stats last night, they had 5 3-and-outs in a row.
Yeah, it was
that hadn't
5-3
happened,
and out.
and they did it twice
During the same game?
in the same.
So they had 10
game.
possessions of 3 and out?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was hard to watch. It was so
It was.
inept.
It was
Russell
boring.
Wilson was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, he did not look like that. I know he's coming back off the hand, but he wasn't stepping up, and he wasn't even thinking about scrambling. The old Russell Wilson.
Finally at the end,
Heineke was doing what Russell Wilson was famous for, was being active in the pocket, but I think he scrambled once. I remember one time he made a big play, but it wasn't much.
Well, in my limited experience, seeing how I played for about 7 or 8 years, 9 years, and didn't really get into the position where you knew what playoffs were all about and what a winning team was like, playing with the Jets for 5 years and the first couple of years down here. Got close a couple times. But it seems that momentum is such a key factor here. And I can tell you today, or whenever they come into the park, they will come in today and they'll look at film. I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe Rivera will give them the day off. I have no idea. But when they do get back together, it's going to be a great feeling in that locker room. Everybody's going to be looking forward to come in, and they're looking forward to the next game. And this is where it really gets critical, is where you got to keep that momentum going. And so as you leave one game and you take the confidence you get from a victory, as they did from Tampa, as they did from Carolina, and now as they will do from Seattle, it's incumbent upon them to keep that same spirit alive and take that out to Las Vegas. And because setbacks, and as soon as you get a setback, they're in a better position now. They've won 3 games in a row. Let's just say they have trouble with Las Vegas and they end up losing that game. Well, it's not nearly as bad as when you win one game, or if they'd have lost last night. Then all of a sudden things get scrambled, in my mind anyway, that where you kind of lose the path that you were on.
Right.
It's difficult to find. It becomes clearer and clearer the more games you stretch together. You can overcome a loss down the road. But when you're just trying to find your way, and this team has been doing that for quite some time, that it's very important that every game becomes actually even more important than the last game.
Well, think about it. How much better, and even from strictly from a competitive, but also from a psychological, to your point, 5-6 versus 4-7. If you had lost that last night, I mean, that's your season, in my opinion. You go 4-7 with what you're staring at, and then your playoff possibilities shrink that much more. But it's like and one guy we didn't even mention, who we know is good for it, probably MVP of your team, is Mr. Terry McLaurin. And he said damn near verbatim what you said last night. He goes, it's different energy now. And he goes, now you see how contagious it is in the locker room. He goes, our practices are more spirited. Everybody's pumping each other up. We can't wait to get together again.
Everybody's bouncing on the balls of their feet. That they're looking forward to the next game. They're looking forward to the next challenge. There's not really much. There was something else I was going to add. Like anything else, you got to talk, and you talked me through it, so I forgot it. So you know what I can say?
Tell me.
Riggo out. Chongo, I'm looking for you. Godzilla, remember, you and me, we're on the same side.